Manchester United losing 4-3 to Bayern Munich. It was frustrating. It was painful. It was kind of everything you didn't want it to be. What I'm going to do in this video is give me 10 minutes of your time. I'm going to run through the 5 things that we learned, some main takeaways, some talking points, and some things that we need to build on going into the Burning game and moving forward if this United team is really going to take steps forward, which I think we can. So give me 10 minutes of your time. Drop a like on the video. Make sure you join the community. I'd love to have you on board, but let's get into this one. And first up, obviously, Onana's mistake, in my opinion, did properly cost us that game of football. Up until Onana made that mistake, and it was a mistake where Onana's a decent shot stopper, all right? So don't try and tell me that he's not. That there is just a complete lapse of concentration. He wasn't focused, and that in itself is unforgivable. As an elite level goalkeeper, you have to be ready, even if you're there for 80 minutes and you haven't touched the ball, and a player comes through and your team's winning 1-0. You have to be ready for that moment. And he just wasn't. Now, Onana has fronted up. He's taken the responsibility. And he said that that defeat is on him, which in itself is a slight positive, but that's as basic as much positive as you can take from the situation. Onana can't do that. Onana's had a shaky start to his life at Manchester United. Onana is better than what he is playing at this moment in time. And our system right now, you might say this is an excuse, but it's just the truth, and you might not like it, all right? We're still not playing the football, the build-up play, the reason we bought him. We're not doing it. We don't have that first phase midfielder. And midfield is, in my opinion, is the biggest talking point from that game. Erik Ten Hag, after the game, he said, look, Onana made a mistake. Of course he made a mistake. But Manchester United's midfield is absolutely not fit for purpose. Unequivocally, no knee-jerk reaction to this game against Bayern Munich, but a succession of consistent mistakes from our midfield across multiple games that highlights the key weakness. Let me show you. Here we go. Let's go back to Arsenal and the repeating patterns that we are seeing in these games. Against Arsenal, you can see here, Odegaard in the middle, Christian Eriksen not looking at the ball, not looking at the man behind him. Christian Eriksen not marking the runner. Christian Eriksen goes forward. Odegaard's in acres of space. Arsenal score. We go to Brighton. We see Danny Welbeck here dropping in between the lines, in between Martinez and in between Casemiro. You can see him. Let me just get this up here. Right. Now I'm on the wrong screen. 1 second there. Over here, you can see Casemiro's there, Martinez is there, and Welbeck's just dropped in between the lines. That means no one knows how to mark him, who to mark him. Welbeck makes a continue running from this point here. Look at Welbeck, right? Welbeck's behind Casemiro. Scott McTominay's over there. Should be quite easy for United to defend that at that point. But no, nobody watches the run of Danny Welbeck. He drifts in between. He scores with a late arrival into the box. And against Bayern Munich again, we see here Gnabry on the edge of the box and Casemiro kind of in no man's land. I don't know what my defensive midfielder is going to do there when there are 2 attackers here. This is the space that Casemiro should be in, not over there. So Casemiro not covering his man. Gnabry's just standing there in absolutely acres of space. Acres. Do what you want, Gnabry. And he bangs in a goal for Bayern Munich. Casemiro and Eriksen, simply put, are not fit for purpose together in this Erik Ten Hag team. It's too physically taxing. What I think Erik Ten Hag should have done, and this is a mistake I think comes from both the player and the manager in this sense, Ten Hag should have seen earlier this season that Casemiro's not up for it, that Eriksen's not up for it, and certainly not together. He should have tweaked the system in the same way we tweaked our system last year after the first 2 games. De Gea couldn't play out from the back. All right, we'll go slightly long then. We'll negate that issue. He should have negated this issue, but it's just... we need Amrabat in this team as soon as possible. But it's not just Casemiro and Eriksen. This is obviously an example that stood out to a lot of people yesterday in terms of the application and the tracking of our midfielders, because that's what all of this is about. It's about tracking runners or not tracking runners, as is the case. McTominay loses the ball to Upamecano. It had only been on the pitch for 10 minutes. The referee is jogging back faster than Scott McTominay, who, of course, doesn't get anywhere near Upamecano. That's not due to energy levels or fitness levels. That's just down to McTominay looking at that going, nah. Doesn't commit himself to it. And that's a really strange thing for me to say about McTominay. I think that's not really something I've said about him before. You can question his technique and all the other stuff, but I think from a physical perspective, he'd always give everything. I think his mind seems slightly elsewhere because of what happened. But this is why this man is so needed. He is the first phase midfielder. He'll drop in between the two centre-backs and get the ball and make Onana's job far simpler because we'll build up. He'll be that man who tracks back on the transitions. In scenarios like this, he'll be able to run and cover his man. Amrabat can carry the ball too. Amrabat has great... He is going to plug every weakness we've got. But what we cannot see at any point this season now, in my opinion, is Casemiro and Eriksen starting together in midfield again for Manchester United. Now, following on from that, this is a major one which has crept up in the last few games, but how quickly Manchester United are conceding 2 goals in quick succession. It is a bad habit that we are building. I mean, the stats here are absolutely horrible. Lost 4 out of our opening We've lost 4 out of our opening 6 games, conceded 14 in our last 5, lost 18 of our last 35 away games, and have conceded 3 or more in 3 straight games for the first time since 1978. I don't know what these players are doing. I don't know how the switch off can be so severe, but it happened. It's happened against Nottingham Forest conceding 2 in 5 minutes. It's happened against Arsenal conceding 2 in 5 minutes, and it's happened against Bayern Munich conceding 2 in 5 minutes. That's not down to Erik ten Hag. That's down to just collectively as a team, as a unit. Just a complete switch off. Basic stuff. How can you switch off like that so consistently over multiple games? Sure, that can be down to the coaching staff to actually address that issue, but come on. They need to look at themselves as professionals, man, because that is Sunday League stuff. You don't switch off after you score a goal. You don't switch off after you concede a goal. And Man United have consistently been doing it, and that's part of why our defence is so woeful at this moment in time. But if we're looking at a positive from that game, and I think there are positives, and there are 2 standout ones for me. Sergio Reguilon, I think, is a surprise one. But the positive start from Rasmus Højlund, who really, really looks like he could be that poacher that we need in the box. All 3 games he's played so far, Arsenal came off the bench and just showed his attributes straight away, in my opinion. Started against Brighton, got the goal, well, ruled out because of a tiny decision by VAR, which I will speak about in a bit. And then that there against Bayern Munich, you saw his face light up when the Champions League anthem went on. He was living out his dream, and he got the poacher's goal. And that's what I like about the 2 goals that I've seen, one that stood, one that didn't, were the poacher's finishes. They weren't the best goals in the world, but they were right position, right time, got the goal. That sort of presence is what we need. Rio Ferdinand there praising him, saying that he looks good, and he does look good. And I said this yesterday, and it's strange how few Man United signings just hit the ground running straight away and just turn into what you would expect of them. And Højlund has had a very, very positive start in that regard. And I tell you what, I hope it continues. And look, the 5th thing that I'm going to speak about, and you can't not speak about it, well, as far as I'm concerned, is Man United right now, we're down in the dumps in terms of the takeover and everything that's going on with the club. But in terms of injuries, in terms of VAR, in terms of actual a little bit of luck, we have not had much of it. Last night, a penalty conceded after what? Eriksen was 3 yards away from Upamecano. What could he possibly do in that scenario? Garnacho, millimetres away from having a late winner away at Arsenal. Rashford, millimetres away. If you look at a different angle, the ball looks in from getting that goal before half-time against Brighton that would have switched the momentum of that game. When you're down, you're down. And Man United, when it rains, it pours. And it's exactly what's happening right now. But the momentum will shift. The momentum will change. And it has to change and start changing with Burnley. The Burnley game for me now is as important as the Liverpool game was in the first season for Ten Hag. That was after we lost against Brighton and Brentford. And then we played Liverpool, and we collectively as a team put in a wicked performance and won at Old Trafford and went on 4 wins on the spin from that point. We need to beat Burnley here before we head into a fixture period where we play Crystal Palace back-to-back. We play Galatasaray. We've got Burnley. We've got a favourable run of fixtures. Burnley will be difficult away from home. I've just told you, we've lost 18 of our last 35 away games. But we should have injuries coming back. We should have Mount coming back in. We should have Mainu hopefully coming back. And Amrabat and Varane. But these are the main things that I've noticed in this game against Bayern Munich that aren't just from this Bayern Munich game. It's patterns that are repeating themselves and problems that need to be fixed.
You can't just focus on Onana making the mistake. That's not the overall picture, which I hope I've helped you understand in this video. If I did, you can let me know in the comments. If I didn't, you'll also let me know in the comments. But you seem to enjoy the one I did after Brighton, so I'm probably going to make this a bit of a regular on the channel, because I think it's good to assess what went wrong and try and talk about how we fix it moving forward. And Eric, it's on you to do that as a manager.